and I'm not going to say they're free. He gave school lunches to every kid that goes to school or whatever. It didn't matter their income or anything like that. Yeah, it's, are some rich kids getting some free, getting a lunch or whatever that they maybe don't need or whatever? Yeah, that's fine. But the thing is like the poor kids are also getting the lunches. The poor kids that the school is the safest place that they go to all day long are getting that free lunch that they probably wouldn't be able to get, on their own. And so they a lot of them, it's something like we got our priorities all messed up right now, and we need to reset everything in order to.
Yeah, I honestly think we should just have a free lunch program for all children. I don't care about their financial status. It doesn't matter. Just have a free lunch program, because you're right, Jay. School is a safe place for a lot of those kids that don't even get meals at home. They can't afford to eat at home. So I am all for free lunch program for all schools, for all children. And one of the things I love about Donald Trump coming in is that he is allocating $10,000 per family for school choice. That's something that he's going to be doing. He's going to be giving that to each family if they want to homeschool, which is very beneficial because homeschooling is expensive. Anything that they need, like you said one night, Jay, you as a teacher, you didn't even have any supplies. You didn't have a marker. You didn't have a marker for your whiteboard. We were given this list every, when my kids were in school, given the school, the school supply list every year. But a lot of kids can't afford that. A lot of kids cannot afford the school supplies. So it shouldn't be up. I just think that's something that just needs to be included in our schools. No more unions, no more tenure programs, all that BS that comes, in my opinion, that comes with the Department of Education. I'm tired of it. I'm just, my kids are grown, but I know what we went through, and I'm just tired of it. Like, families should not have to pay for their kids' school supplies. They should be provided, by the school, like for the teachers, and where's all this money going? Like, it's going for their benefits. Like you said, Jay, it's going for the teachers' benefits, the unions. These teachers become tenured. And then after that, they're just set for life. So do you think they really give a crap about the kids? I don't think so. But that's just my opinion. So, yeah.
What do you think about superintendents that are paid millions of dollars a year?
No way in hell.
I mean,
for what? What are they doing?
Yeah.
Sitting on their ass doing
really
nothing?
A reason.
No, there's not a reason. And these kids, I know when my brother was teaching, he was all about the test scores. The test scores, the test scores, the test scores. They would all compete for the test scores because that allocated how much money each school was given. I'm sorry, you just need to go down to smaller class size. Let's hire some more quality teachers. Maybe offering, instead of what do they make now, like $45 a year, maybe offering $60K a year, $70K a year to more quality teachers. It needs to end. We need to stop this. It needs to end. I'm sick and tired of it. And my kids are, out of school. But I just remember all that. It just needs to end now. I want this Department of Education burnt to the ground. They do us no good. Thank you.
Let's go to another hand. Let's go to AIM.
Hey, yeah, I'm a mom. I'm involved in my local community and our public school system and everything, and I cannot wait until the Department of Education is dismantled federally and brought back into state hands so that we, as homeowners and taxpayers and parents, have a fucking say with our votes. I mean, we volunteer, we pay our teachers, we're out there. My kid is homeschooled, but she there was 1 year she went to public school, and it was a shit show, but I was a volunteer there, helped out the teachers, helped out everybody, and what they go through is horrible. And our kids are suffering. I saw kids, like, we're in the bluest of bluest states, Washington State, okay? And we paid the most money for our kids for school, and it is an absolute chaotic shit show. No kid is getting what they need there. I spent 1 year there volunteering. My kid spent 1 year going there, and it was horrible. She was an A student when she went there, and she came out a C student. No, like, we have to have it into the states. We have to have it into the states so that we, parents, taxpayers, homeowners, like, we have say, you know, and somebody brought up the administrators. I mean, why are they making $300,000 a year? What the hell are you doing? What the hell are you doing? You're not doing nothing for our kids, for our community's children. Like, the kids in our community, like, we care. We live here. You know, so I mean, the fear of dismantling it federally, I've looked into it. I've done my research. I have personal experience with it. I have no fear. Dismantle it federally. Bring it down to the states. Bring it down to us, people and parents and teachers, and, you know, hold the teachers' unions accountable. I mean, at the state level. I'm good with that. Sorry, I had to come up here and say that because, dang, I mean, it is a shit show. And our kids are suffering, and that is not okay.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's there's a lot of things that are messed up, but in my opinion, it's fixable. We can solve this problem if we do it the right way. There are really solutions, and you have to you have to talk to the people at the ground level in order to fix it. Like, that's, some of the things that I've told you and stuff, they're coming from real life experience, because I was doing it. I was doing it. I taught in a couple different schools, and I taught in a Title I, which was the had the least amount of resources, and then I taught in a high performing school where my kids went too, and that one I had plenty. But there, I could have a classroom of 38 kids, and it really wouldn't matter. Even though I didn't, I only had a class of 15 kids in there. But I could have had a class of 38 kids, because those kids listened. They listened. They did their homework. They would do the things that they were told to do. In the Title I school, it was completely the opposite, because a lot of these kids, and they're very, they come in from a different place than my kids are. They don't have a nice house. A lot of them, their parents are in prison. Their parents are dead even, and a lot of them are being raised by their grandparents who are like 80, 85 years old or something like that, and they don't have any clue what they're doing every day. And so they're left to the streets, and the school is basically, trying to,
Back there, and Todd don't give a fuck. Lord,
yeah, it's just it's a hard situation to deal with and to solve that problem. But the way that I said, to break it down to smaller class sizes, and the Department of Education doesn't offer any help, because they punish that school because it's a low performing school, so they have less resources, they have less funding, and so it's the exact opposite of the way it should be. It's and that started with No Child Left Behind. That's really where it started, and it's got a new name now. I forget what it's called, but it's essentially the same thing. But that program really hurt us in a lot of ways. Like that, it was terrible. Like it was counterintuitive. The lowest performing schools, or it encourages test manipulation, teaching the tests and preparing the kids for the test versus them, being taught the curriculum and performing well on their own. That's the other part that it does to it. It's just not a good system. And so I could, if President Trump want me to do something, but I just, I have perspective because I did it. I dealt with it. I'm a parent, and I also taught in the system, and I know a lot of the problems that they have. And so I know that the Department of Education could completely go away. Honestly, they're just an intermediary to the funding that comes from Congress, and that's the best thing that they provide for us. They hurt us and they hold us back, and so that's my opinion. Aim, you can
100%. I just want to say 100%, and I support you as a teacher and support all my friends who are teachers. Sorry, got the hiccups. But anyway, it's really important that we as teachers and parents and taxpayers are able to help our kids in our community, in our communities, without, like handcuffs on us. Even with food, like we're in a farming community. We can't even bring good, healthy food into our schools because they have contracts with like Kraft or something like that. That's not okay.
Yeah, Aim, and the other thing too is I've lived in a lot of different places because I was military, and so my kids went to school in a lot of different places. And honestly, I'm not sure what Washington's budget is for schools, and you said it's one of the highest, and I believe that. I honestly believe it. But the worst schools that my kids went to out of any state was Washington and Tennessee. They were the two worst that my kids went to school, and we lived on both coasts. We lived overseas. We lived in Florida. We lived in Georgia, obviously. Now, and the two worst were Tennessee and Washington State. And so, you saying that they're spending a ton of money on schools there, it doesn't surprise me. And and that's a lot of what we're talking about here is the money being spent. Spending money doesn't solve problems. You have to be smart about the way that you do things. And so just continuing to throw money at bad ideas and throwing money into things that aren't working is the problem. And so that's why we need innovators that are going to do these things. So let's go to the beer.
There you are, beer. You said you were having some trouble.
Oh no, I think X Spaces were down for a while. I'm a nomad. I wander around spaces and look for interesting topics as opposed to following anyone in particular. I just posted something, but you've got a great topic here. I just posted in the Purple Pill. I'm sorry, you need to sub-click the link that I just posted, but there's a graph there. And if you look at that graph, it shows the growth in administrative staff and principals versus teachers and students. And what you see is since 2000, like a 100% increase in administrative staff. You see a 40% increase in principals and assistants. You see a 10% increase in teachers and a 5% increase in students. So, I think that destroying the Department of Education at a federal level is absolutely critical to getting America back on track. As you know, I'm an Aussie that's lived here for 12 years. I think the Department of Education is the most cancerous department at a federal level in terms of poisoning future generations. And the sooner they're gone, the better. But over and above that, you don't need me to tell you that. You just need to look at the statistics. The United States was number one in the world for high school education standards at the back end of World War II. It stayed there till the 60s when feminism took off. And now you're at depending on which pundit you want to look at, somewhere between 15 and 25 in the world, including some third world nations. So the United States education system has fallen off a cliff in the last 50 years. And the sooner the Department of Education is eradicated, the better. And what I suspect is going to happen now is that the blue states will persist with the DEI and other bullshit that they enjoy. And the red states at a state level, after that happens, will start to concentrate on mathematics, language, science, history, and those states will start to exceed. And it will be a very short matter of time, maybe because you'll see it within 4 years, the term of Trump's existing term. I think what you're going to see is that the red states will grasp onto this. They'll basically back out all that DEI bullshit, and you'll start to see a very fast increase in the quality of education in red states, whilst the blue states and any parent in those blue states that really cares about their kids will be doing a double take. And I think this will be getting rid of the Department of Education may be the smartest move ever for making blue states turn more red. That's what I think is about to happen. So yeah, I'll park it there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bear. We always love you coming up. We love your voice. This is just so passionate. It's a passionate conversation, and I'm glad we went to it. We need to eliminate it. We need to eliminate it. I was even talking to my son a few minutes ago. How do you feel about? He's 22. They were cooking in the kitchen. How do you feel about eliminating the Department of Education? He said, "Oh my God, burn it down." That's what he said. Burn it
100%.
down.
100%.
He's 22. I mean, he's hilarious. He's pure mega now. But he went through it. He would come home and tell me these stories like, "Mom, how do you feel about Russia, and all this stuff." The stuff the teachers were teaching him in school, and there was no picture of President Trump on the wall along with all the other presidents. He was the current president at the time. It's like, how do you feel about that? So we're going to make a picture. We're going to print one off, and you're going to bring it to school. So he did. It's like this. It's just, he would come home and ask me these questions. He was in public school, in high school at the time. It's kind of a smaller school in Reno, but still, I mean, for my kid to come home and say those things back then when, 4 or 5 years ago, it's like, oh my God. He even agreed with me. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. So, and he's in a trade now. He didn't go to college, but he's chose to do, a trade, and he's doing so well.
Thanks, Kimmy. Thanks, Jay. This is a really good topic and a pet peeve because I am let's see, what do I call it? A constitutional scholar hobbyist. And I say that because I didn't go to the Higher Education Institute. But Constitution is simple to read, and if you actually read what the founders talk about and a lot of things, so I posted a few things in the Purple Pill. One of them is probably, I would say, maybe the first special interest debate that the founders came across in 1792, which was the cod fishery bounties. I'm not going to get into the whole thing; it's there to read. But Madison makes it very clear that the Defense and General Welfare Clause isn't an open check for Congress to spend money on anything it wants. And one of the things is he warned about the federal government funding schools. That is a state power and a state power only. The DOE needs to be defunded and erased. Everything needs to go to the state. The problem here is we, over the last, I don't know, maybe 50, 60 years, we can blame our parents, we can blame ourselves to a point, we can blame the people, our grandparents, but complacency sets in, and things go good for a little while. We don't care what government's doing because we're out there working, trying to make a living. All of a sudden, we don't have gold to back up the dollar. Our moms, our grandmothers, our wives have to go to work to help fund the house. So now you have a babysitter, our education system funded by the federal government. And now the federal government gets to tell the states how you're going to educate your children. And this is not what the founders wanted. Just to go on, a republic, if you can keep it. That wasn't a suggestion. It's a directive. And it's a directive that if you are not involved, then you will lose the republic. So at your local level, you must be involved in your school boards. You don't have to be on the school board, but you need to bring things to attention. I posted in there, I'm from Columbia, Missouri. Our superintendent has a $239,000 yearly salary. They at one of the schools, they added a trans closet, so there is a closet there that if the kids are too scared to be trans at home, they could come to school, go into this closet, and put on clothes that make them feel more comfortable without the parents knowing, right? That's a $10,000 thing. Plus, they got to spend all this money to put all these clothes in there. I mean, it's ridiculous. So I just want to drop that now, and I'll just keep listening. Appreciate it.
Okay, so the parents aren't even aware of this, correct? You were saying?
Well, the parents won't be aware of their child going into the closet. Parents are aware of the closet because it's public knowledge, right? Because this was I just put it in there's an article there. But I heard this a long time ago. My wife is a school bus driver, and here's another thing too: is that teachers get all these days off. School bus drivers don't have to take those days off, but they don't get paid for those days, and that's not going to help out the school bus drivers, with their pay. There's a lot of things, and that's probably not in every district, but anyway, I'll just leave it there. Appreciate it.
So this really bothers me. So they have a closet in the schools that the kids can go into while they're at school and go home and never even act that way. What I'm hearing, what you're saying, correct?
Yes, it's at Rockbridge High School in Columbia,
there you
Missouri.
Go. So it's all in the schools. It's not at home. A lot of it's not at home.
And it's only at this one school for now, right? It's only at this one school for now, this Rockbridge High School for now. Don't know what the other high schools are doing. I think there's only two or three other high schools in the area, but yeah, it's in this high school, and a parent won't even know if their child is going in there and going to Rockridge High School, going into the closet, changing clothes. And here's another thing. I also look at it, this could resort to like bullying, where you have certain cliques bullying, the weaker kids, forcing them into these closets, and that's an issue too that's not addressed either. So anyway.
Oh my gosh, that's just so sad.
I'd love to share my opinion on charter schools, if I could.
Sure. I'm not sure who that is.
Paul.
Okay, Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, so definitely the Department of Education, it's a disaster. And someone who's young, I'm 32, so still kind of young, I have seen both the public school system, which I had to go through, and then kind of my awakening, which happened through National History Day, which was this project-based learning program that I got into in 8th grade that I was selected for. And project-based learning is really a student takes on a big project and they do a lot of research and discovery into a certain topic. For me, mine was the Manhattan Project. And on the way there, I was in 8th grade. So I started going to the university, to their archive, and reading old books. Then I had to collect primary source material. I actually found some veterans who were involved in the Manhattan Project and collected their story. My neighbor across the road, who I never knew before, I saw his war flag hanging out. My first time I approached him and collected his story. So that project, that main word, the Manhattan Project, along the way, I learned about what America is. I learned about World War II. I learned about the physics. I learned about Robert Oppenheimer. I learned about all of these, Enrico Fermi, Chicago School of Physics. So that was a 4-month project. At the end, it was a 12-minute documentary that was selected to go to the state championship. From that moment on, I knew that my brain had turned on. Before, up until 8th grade, my brain was shut off because I was an autonomon. I was learning exactly what everyone else was learning. I was competing against every other student for a GPA, a 3.6 GPA, a 4.0 GPA. Now, America was built on meritocracy. And it wasn't until I started doing project-based learning that I was able to show my merit, that I can go and collect so much data, so much research, and make the most amazing documentary about this one simple topic. And along the way, I learned so much. Now, high school went on. I wasn't involved too much in National History Day because it was a younger program. But after college, I started studying education, and I found a few charter schools that I was like, wow, this is what the next generation should be learning. If America is truly built as a meritocracy, which we've seen Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and other Republicans strongly echo, built on individual liberty, each person should be able to show their merit. And it wasn't until I discovered that I can compete with everybody else to show that my civic duty, my participation in the community, that I started to become myself. My identity started growing. I wasn't just part of this corporate identity that the federal government is instilling on all public school. I became an individual. I was able to find myself. So then working with kids in Montessori schools, the new school in Appleton, which is a project-based learning school, Waldorf schools, and other schools, I was able to see that these kids are coming out really amazing. And this is truly what America can turn into, is that each student has a project or some kind of initiative, like the Boy Scouts, for example. The Boy Scouts that built on a badge system, right? They're able to show their merit badges. That went away in 1970 with the Department of Education. Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts are not seen as high standard anymore, but they are one of the most meritorious, youthful people. They go out and build benches for their parks. They go out and do community projects. So that is because their merit, they're seeking merit. And I think there's going to be a revival in the word meritocracy, and for students to become involved in cultivating merit and not just competing for GPA.
Alrighty, let's go.
Was well said.
Yeah, that was very well said. Thank you so much, Paul, for coming out. We greatly appreciate you. I'd like to go to Adam, then Charlie.
Did you call me, Kimmy?
Yes, I did. How are you doing,
I'm
Adam?
doing all right. Doing all right.
Nice to see you. Thanks for coming up.
Yeah, definitely. Always. Always a pleasure. You know, you got Hans in the building, Carmen, everybody, James. You know, Insurrection Barbie's up in here. Okay, cool. Nice, nice.
Yeah, he's part of our panel now, whether she likes it or not.
Nice. Welcome aboard. All right. So, yeah, you know, I've looked at the schooling system and the Department of Education during my libertarian years, you know, Ron Paul, Revolution, you know, Tea Party, all that good stuff. And, you know, back then that was around like 2012, you know, when Obama was going for re-election and Ron Paul was running against him. And one of the things that the figures that came to me as a fact was that every tax dollar spent, about like going through the bureaucracy of the DOE, right, Department of Education, by the time it got to the school or the student, one or the other, it was 11 cents on the dollar. So each one of our tax-paying dollars that were allocated to go to the schools and help these students, they only got 11 cents of each dollar. Like, that is robbery. And these fat cats on the Hill are sitting there while children could be better educated, teachers could get better pay, so on and so forth, rather than these wasteful bureaucrats on the Hill. So, you know, I think DOE being eliminated and the money going to the states where it belongs is a much better route, most definitely. And yeah, you know, as far as what the gentleman was talking about, you know, he's a mechanic, 30 some odd plus years, of course, and much respect to him. And I understand the apprenticeship is good, and you know, mentorship of course. But one thing that I got out of high school in '99. I'm class of '99, so that was the last year that they had Power and Trans 1 and 2, not trannies, you know what I mean, or whatever. I got banned for that word, but who cares? Transmissions, basically Power and Trans 1 and 2, and you know, you got to learn how to take an engine apart, put it back together, transmission, all that good stuff, how to change your own brakes. I don't pay for a mechanic ever. I do everything myself on my cars, and it is great. I've got two cars from like 2000 and 2004 that are still running great because I keep up on them. And that's one thing, like, you know, they could go on the job and then not get paid, but, you know, if we had these things in high school again, even if they're geared toward electric motors, and, you know, teaching them, of course, the basics of mechanics through the combustible engine, so on and so forth. But yeah, I think we need these things back in high schools. You know, even cooking, you know, like, for God's sake, these kids probably don't know how to cook well. You know, I took cooking classes. I love cooking, you know, nothing wrong with that, whether you're a man or a woman. And plus you get to, you know, back then, you know, it was like an excuse to go hang out, you know, get to know the girls, you know, at the time. So, yeah, but, yeah, definitely great conversation, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you're so welcome, Adam. I'll have to say, I took cooking and sewing, and neither one helped me. So,
Yeah, I didn't sew, but
well, it took me like a year
too
to make.
girly for me. Cooking my dad cooked, so I grew up cooking since the age of 7 because I had two parents that were working, and in the 80s, you were able to be trusted as a 7-year-old, like a mature
Like a
7-year-old
latchkey kid. That's what I was. Yeah.
to babysit. And I used to be now. If somebody does that, you're gonna have what is it called? The people that come and take your kids.
CPS.
CPS, yeah, you're gonna have CPS knocking at your door. And I used to babysit my brother throughout. Listen, you want a joke? Okay, one time, my parents went out for the night, and I'm watching Miami Vice and everything. My brother, my younger brother, was probably like, he's a toddler, still wearing diapers. He needed his diaper changed, and my mom comes back. I'm like, yeah, look, I changed his diaper. I did good and everything, And I'm like, I even used Windex, so it was nice and shiny. She's like, what? You used Windex? And she took my brother and started washing him in the sink. So bad, but yeah, just a funny story. I figure I'd throw in there to lighten the mood for everybody.
Oh, most definitely. I was a latchkey kid, and I had to take care of my brother and get dinner ready for him because he was, we're 3 years apart. I'm older, but he was on the water polo team. So I had to make dinner. I had to make dinner for him and my family every night. When my parents got home from work, they had dinner ready. And I was like 13 years old. So I grew up pretty fast. So,
Yeah,
yes.
I was cooking too.
Yeah, but now I do cook, but it's just me. So I took home ec and shop. That's what I did.
Shop was great.
Department of Education needs to be abolished immediately, Kimmy. It's bad.
I agree.
My daughter, she texted me her mom's school teacher, and they're all indoctrinated to the Democrat Party, and she said she didn't want to talk to me anymore because of Trump. And this is the last time that the education system's going to do that to our families. They're breaking up the family values. They're pitting men against women and vice versa. And I've seen families destroyed over the elections. It's terrible, the division they create. It needs to be abolished immediately.
Yeah, I don't get, like, New Mexico too. That's where you are, Jeff, right?
Yeah, I'm in Roswell.
I don't get how blue it is there. Like, what the hell's going on with that state?
So it's not old Mexico, it's New Mexico. And Santa Fe, it's a Hollywood destination. You've got the Clintons. Jeffrey Epstein was out here. It's where I'm at, it's solid red, but I'm trying to start a business, $1 billion business here in town. And because the Democrats, they've cost us trillions of dollars from here to Odessa, which is the largest oil field. It's larger than Saudi Arabia. And with the Keystone Pipeline, I talked to my sister up in Calgary. Apparently, they sold the pipe to the Keystone Pipeline. So, but there's just all these different things that the Democrats have basically put a wrench into, America's ability to produce its own energy, and that's changing. And I'm all for green energy, but at this present moment, I'd rather purchase oil from, or produce our own oil than purchase it from our enemies.
All right, let's go to. Sorry, is you speaking again?
Oh, I forgot, Jay. I just want to tell you how much I'm grateful for you guys. I noticed that you worked the helicopters, and one of my most favorite mechanics I ever met was he was a door gunner for the Colombian Army, and his name is Julian. One of the nicest, most ethical and really calm, one of the most calmest guys I've ever met in my life. And he was a helicopter mechanic, but a door gunner. So every time they go after the drug dealers in the cartel and the FARC, he would have to spray the whole area before they dropped in. And no telling how many people all the cartels that they killed, lots and lots. But he was one of the most calmest dudes I ever met in my life, Hans. He was just, I think the difference between us and them is he knew exactly who he was killing. And whereas we've been doing a lot of killing and a lot of our troops don't feel like it's for the right reason. And I think that's the difference between battle fatigue and PTSD here as opposed to this particular gentleman. He was just cool as ice. All of you guys are badass, bro. I just want to tell you how grateful I am to you guys, how much I appreciate y'all. Thanks.
You're a badass, Jeff.
Appreciate it.
That's my job. I work on aircraft. Like my military boss used to say, I used to get paid to take them down. Now I get paid to keep them up. Appreciate that.
Appreciate you, Jeff. And let's go to Charlie Sue next. Charlie Sue, go ahead.
Thank you, Jay Hans. I want to make sure the audience, as well as those that are anonymous, take the time to follow and then do an all post follow for Kimmy, Jay Hans, Carmen, but also there's other space hosts in here. There's James Waldecker in here. There's several speakers in here like Insurrection Barbie and PQF. Make sure you follow these folks, and then when you click the follow, click the little bell and click all post. And what that does is whatever chats they're in, it will promulgate a notice to you so that you can go into those chats. There's even Karen Kennedy in here. She's a Gold Star family mom that spoke yesterday as a special guest. So scroll through, follow the speakers in this page, and know that you're not alone. Know that 75 million people came out to vote for Donald Trump. To my fellow veterans, because I connected with so many of you last Tuesday with General Michael Flynn and several of our veteran spaces, know that you're not alone. And the reason I point this out to y'all is we lose veterans every single day. And I cannot begin to tell you the hope that Donald Trump and this election has instilled in our veterans and in America. It's allowed people to live one more day, one more week, one more month, one more year. If you're down there as a listener or you're anonymous, take the time to just think about your passions, whether it be freedom of speech, firearms, COVID, school board, your kids in school. Find your passion. Come up and take the time in Kimmy's spaces, Insurrection Barbie spaces, James's spaces. There's so many great Republican, America First, MAGA, Republicans that you can come and talk. It just takes the first time when you come up and talk. I just started talking in Kimmy's spaces. I think Kimmy, maybe 1 or 2 months ago, right, darling?
Yes, that is correct. And I love you, Charlie.
Yes, thank you.
I adore you.
Yes, and they welcome you. They welcome your ideas. They welcome your concerns. They welcome your passions. So I have 2 talking points. Always focus on the topic of the space. Should we abolish the DOE? I have 2 talking points. So I'm going to just kind of backtrack because the DOE is a beast. It's a machine, right? It's part of the government. As a veteran, married to a veteran, still serving the government, I'm telling you, there's a lot of money, and I can go into a whole nother topic. So visit Future Spaces. I haven't held any for a couple months. I'm just glad we won because I've been part of Trump Force 47. I've been part of America PAC to make sure that we win. But let's just back up. As a mom, I'm a Latino Asian mom. What I'm going to explain to all of y'all, and you know this as kids yourself, if you haven't had kids, and you know this as parents, the problem we have today, it's not the DOD, it's the fact that we allow our kids to lead adults. And the reason this came is 10 years ago, we had this man, and I'm not going to name call, I'm not going to give him any name recognition. He created a woke agenda. He created the most divisive administration 10 years ago. Thank God we had a little break, a little intermission with Trump. Then we had a little fallback with the Biden administration. Thank God we can say Merry Christmas again, this administration. We can say Merry Christmas. Okay, so that's this administration. Amen. So here's the challenge we're having. Our children, they're dependents for a reason. I'm a military veteran. I'm so grateful that I served, and so grateful that my father's father served as the first female I served. But where I'm going with that is we are dependents. Dependents. A child is a dependent. This term is used for all children. We need to lead dependence. The problem we have is parents are afraid to say no. As adults, we have fully developed brains. Okay, these are the things that we can feel through life. We shouldn't be having adult conversations with our kids. That's for the school boards. That's why children aren't present. So our education system, for example, they're supposed to prepare our kids to be what? Productive members of society. But what we're seeing in the school system, obviously, and there's so many sub caveats to this topic, but they're redirecting counseling, self-help areas. Keep in mind, this is outside of learning disabilities or ADA. Okay, so I want to make sure I focus on those parents. But what they're deflecting from is kids completing work, kids having accountability, having responsibility. And that's the problem with the woke agenda. And that's what our home is for. Do you know that 50% of all of our kids only pass the end of year exams? Because kids are leading adults now, and adults are allowing it. Adults are allowing it. We are responsible and accountable for our household. Turn off the phones at 10 o'clock, y'all. I did it. I turned the phones off at 10 o'clock. These were very structured children. Thank you, Lord, and they may the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I have structured children, and I'm grateful for that. So it is important that we're having discussions today with our kids because they are not emotionally, intellectually, or morally able to handle the things in this world. That is our job. That's why they have anxiety. That's why they have depression. That's why they have confusion, because we are the adults. We need to let our children be children. They're innocent. We need to let them enjoy their childhood and not to know all the drama and the difficulties and the politics in our adult life. That's what TikTok's putting on them, by the way. The older kids, it's fine because they're being informed, but the younger kids, they don't need this. They just need to obviously read, write, think for themselves. But what we also need to demand is that children fear God. I pray that all of you have instilled God in their lives and you protect them in this society. So this is beyond the DOE. This is in our homes. And I'm going to tell you, the number one tactic, the number one evil of the other party, and I'm not going to blame the Democrats because I have another talking point about Talkaway, and I'm going to finish my point here in a minute and a half, is emotional tactics. The evil party, the left, the progressives, there's liberals and now there's the progressives. The progressives have taken over the Democratic Party, and Democrats listening to this would appreciate this. They use emotional tactics. Defend your children from emotional tactics. That's what they do. And that is our jobs as adults, as parents, as our household and our village. So that's where I'm going with the DOE is I'm grateful that my kids have an education system. I'm grateful that they can learn the basic foundations of education, whereas I'm teaching them Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But it is our job to instill everything else that makes them a structured, valued, traditional American child. So how do you do that? Here's my solution. I actually have a solution. So here's what I've done. I have a 16-year-old. I have a 17-year-old. I'm not bragging, but I am. My 16-year-old is an intern for his state representative, paid in the state of Texas with scholarships. They're there. My 17-year-old is already in college. These kids were doing half days by noon in a work program. Here's why. I structured them. I got them involved. I said everything that I just told you. So what I'm knowing is Scott Pressler is a perfectly good example, and Scott Pressler comes into some of my spaces. Thank you, Scott, if you're listening. Is we're not getting involved. We're not educating the Gen Zers and the generation that's coming up. And how do you do that? One, you start with yourself. You get involved. You Google, or I'm not going to use the word Google, you search your county, your GOP, you go to those meetings. And what we're not seeing is, one, we're not seeing the walkaway movement, and we're not seeing young adults in these monthly or quarterly GOP meetings. We need to make sure that they're going to the county executive meetings. We need to make sure that they're going to the county commissioner meetings, that they know who their sheriffs is, that they know who their district judges is, their county judges is. That is empowerment. That is education. That is how you inform them, and that is how you get them involved. They have the ability to expand their minds beyond their household and understanding that government creates a lot of the governing and the laws and the rules that affect our households, our counties, our districts, and our states. So that is my ask. That is my call to action for each and every one, with your hand up, for the speakers, for the listeners, for those that are anonymous at the bottom of the room. It looks like there's 41. Please bring yourself, call yourself accountable first. Go to your local GOP meeting. Do search, I'm going to use hypothetically, Orange County GOP. Can't find it, Orange County Republican Party. Go to that meeting. They don't treat you nicely. They're not nice to you. It's a public official government office. Take over, stay there, stand there, bring your family, bring your kids, get involved in your precinct chair. You know how I know there's a lot of room for our growth? Because the accountability or fill rate for our precinct chair, your precinct is when you walk out your front door, you look left, you look right, you look across the street, that's your precinct. Those are all the voters in your precinct. The fill rate average is 60%. What that means is 6 out of 10 precinct chairs are actually filled. So there's 4 that are not filled. Get involved. Get your children involved. We need our GOP, our Republican children. We need to instill them and empower them and educate them. So that is my ask. That is my call to action. And thank you so much for letting me come up and speak. Kimmy, Jay, Hans, and Carmen, and all the other space hosts that I see in here. Thank you. And you all have a good Thursday evening.
Love that passion, Charlie. Thank you so much for coming up. We greatly appreciate you. We love your fire. We love having you in our spaces. And if you have any spaces, please let me know. I would love to come to them as well. Gosh.
I will, Kimmy. So since you said
you
that,
are a firecracker.
Yeah, Brandon.
Love it.
For those of you that don't follow Brandon, Brandon Straka, 2018, he started the Walkaway movement. So the Latino conservatives, the Asian conservatives, the Black conservatives, we are working. We need to make sure we got 20 Senate seats up in 2026. We need to make sure we have this full rapid right movement as well as this momentum to make sure we get at least, we're looking at, there's a toss-up of about 5, but we're hoping that we keep this progression to keep those Senate seats. But just, if you follow me, follow Kimmy, Jay, Hans, Carmen's, all these hosts, just follow us so that you're getting included and involved in these spaces. But I will be starting, and I'm continuing the GOP, how to get involved in your county and district. And keep in mind, this is getting your children involved. My number one priority is the children. And the reason being is, it really comes down to the divisiveness and the woke agenda. God bless me, but Obama, I'm going to pray for you, Obama, but you created the most woke and divisive agenda in United States history since the 60s. And we need to scale up and ramp up as we are doing, thankfully. I think that's why so many Americans came up. And for those of you that don't know, in the Latino and the Asian and the Black conservative communities, folks like to sometimes use minority as a tailgate, but we're Americans and we have the same values and we have the same kids and we have the same growth and ideas and we want the same for our families. And I'm so grateful that Brandon Straka in 2018 created the Walkaway, #Walkaway movement. So I've already partnered with Brandon Straka and several, the Latino Americans, Conservative for Americans, Bienvenidos, as well as a couple of Black conservatives, Denmark, freedmen, the foundational Black Americans, and how we're going to partner with Brandon Straka to make sure we're educating people to get to their GOPs. We want to see more children and more people involved. We want to see more people run for office and more people engaged, because we're always ramping up 1 or 2 months before a general election. Why? We're pushing our turning point action. Wonderful, Charlie Kirk. We're pushing our get out the vote. Amazing, Scott Pressler. But we're we're hustling 2 or 3 months before an election. We need to be doing this now, before the 2026, now before the 2028. But what you're doing is you're instilling, empowering your children. Y'all, there are internships available. There are scholarships available for your kids, your cousins, your nephews, your nieces. There are so many opportunities in the government that they can get involved by you getting involved. Thank you, Kimmy.
Hey, Kimmy, Hans, I'm going to drop down. But,
thank you, Charlie. We just love you. I just love you so much. You're such a firecracker. Go ahead, Adam. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No worries. No, of course. I didn't mean to be rude, but I'm going to drop down. But I just wanted to say to Paula, is it? That was just talking?
Charlie?
That was Charlie?
Yeah, that was Charlie.
I don't see her on the...
Did I sound like a Paul to you?
No.
She's right next to you, Adam.
I said Paula.
Oh, Paula. I was going to say, I'm not a Paul. I'm not into the trans movement.
Charlie, yeah, I don't even see her on stage. I see her. Okay, yeah, we follow each other. Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, most definitely. I've been harping on the same thing. We need to, get people. We have 200,000 seats empty that we need filled. Dan Schultz speaks about it all the time, and I'm planning on doing spaces. I'm on the same page that you are, so if you want to tag team and hit it up and, reach out to some of those blue areas that, we saw on this red wave of a map when Trump ran, landslided. I say we help those blue areas, the people that want to fill in those chairs and, so on and so forth. The footwork starts now. And I'll yield there. Thank you. Sorry.
Right, Adam, and I don't think people realize, like, a precinct chair, for example. So I moved from Texas to Georgia, and thank God we won by 2.2+%. But we've got a Senator Ossoff up here in 2026. So, but to be a precinct chair, y'all, or you don't even have to be a precinct chair, just to get involved, to have a voice, it's so minimal by just understanding your local, county, district, and state government. It really is. And it's fun. And guess what? You create another entire community of friends. And guess what? You have kindred
and that's
spirits.
How we secure
kindred,
elections.
right. And they're kindred spirits. And it's conservatives connecting. And then where I really, really became empowered was in 2020 when the Biden administration won. I realized they had us in masks, they had us in homes, and they had us cut off. And that's what they were trying to do, is control us. And it was empowered me for Conservatives Connect. And that's when I started that movement, Conservatives Connect. So you'll see that. But it's us coming together, and you're not alone. Listen to me. For those of you that are listening, for those of you that have never spoken a space, for those of you that are anonymous, you are not alone. Come up. Just introduce yourself. Say your name. Say one passion. Keep it really simple. You have a voice because you had a vote, and that's why we won.
We're winning because we're all coming together. These podcasts, I truly believe, Kimmy, I truly believe that we made the difference in this election. All of us, Carmen, everybody, Charlie, Insurrection, PQ, everybody we talk to off and on a daily basis, we're coming together, and I think that Charlie's right about that 100%. And once that cartel, once the southern gate gets shut, the cartel, they're going to lose every position on the border. And at that particular moment, we're going to have to toughen up in this country. And they did it to themselves. There are certain people that fentanyl, drug trafficking, human, child sexual trafficking, every one of those will be killed. There's no other solution. And so when that happens, we're just going to have to be ready, guys.
All righty. Thank you so much, Jeff. Thank you so much, Charlie. We greatly appreciate you. We're going to be ending the space here soon. We've been going for almost 4 hours. So let's go ahead and go. I'd like to go to a new speaker. Her name is News for Friends. Go ahead, News.
Hi, thanks for letting me speak. And I have to comment to Charlie, you're 100% correct. And you don't even need to know people. I left California in 2022 and came to my new state. I didn't even unpack. I lived out of a suitcase because I wanted to be an educated voter before that November election. And I met my neighbors. I met everyone I could. I went out. I made appointments with the politicians. By the way, when there's an upcoming election, that's the best time to get into their offices. They all want your vote. They'll meet with you. Anyway, and I got involved enough that I registered Republican about a year and a half ago, and this last, in my state, the last GOP convention, I was a voting delegate. So you know I was very active to get that in that short a time. Anyway, we all have to do that. Now, something else, I'm always active when I find things of interest, and the school system concerns me greatly. That was the main reason I came up here. I was tired of friends of mine saying they couldn't get information from the schools, and what they did get, they were basically gaslit. It was BS. So I signed up online with the NEA as a social justice activist. Now, I gave all my real name, I gave my real information, name, address, phone number, email. I was just fortunate they didn't ask for a date of birth. They would have known I wasn't some young sprite. I'm going to be 73 in January, and I have been extremely active, and it has started me aging backwards. Anyway, so I learned a lot. I'm thinking of doing a podcast where I go over page by page everything I got from that lousy, it's really a vile organization. They're ruining our children, they're destroying our families, and Trump winning is so empowering, and that's going to make it easier to get people involved this time, Charlie. Every time I try to get people involved, I find people that were perfect. I try to get them to run for office. Everyone was afraid of having the IRS or DOJ weaponized against them. With Trump in, that will make everyone feel they have cover. They're not going to have to worry about that. So more people are going to come out soon. Now, I'm taking a little break right now. I'm trying to rest myself up because when the news, I'm going to do something different this coming year. What I've done in the past is go to the school board meetings, city council, county commission, that sort of thing. And I discovered it's very difficult to get them to change what they're working on unless you come in with 20, 30 people speaking on whatever you're speaking on. They just roll over you otherwise. So what I'm going to do is something different. I am going to, at the start of the year, when the first group sits in office, the state reps and the Senate, I'm going to start going down to the state capitol, and I'm going to make a point to meet every single one of them. I am going to become my own little lobbyist, and I will meet everyone from both parties. I'm going to be friendly, establish relationships, and I'm going to be in place for when I need to speak to people about, I want you to vote this way, or here's why you shouldn't vote that way, because I have found that not all politicians are dirty. We have to give them a little grace. Quite often I'll talk to them and they did not understand what they were signing. They do not all read everything. They don't all research everything. And so anyway, I'm going to do that tactic. I've never done that before, and that's, anyway, so I've been putting some thought into how I'm going to approach that. The biggest problem is there's expensive expenses involved because I'm about an hour and a half away, so I'm gonna have to drive back and forth, and I know how tiring that's gonna be. So that's why I'm resting for a couple of months, because then as soon as they're seated, I am going to hit that actively. But as far as the NEA goes, the biggest problem I see with their curriculum is it's fully steeped in racism. The white kids come out feeling guilty. The black kids lose confidence, and they develop that victim mentality. They are, little kids, anyone around little kids, they're so excited and looking forward to everything new. Just imagine them going into school really excited, and then the little white kids are told how they're to blame for all the racism, and the little black kids are told. Anyway, I've got all this stuff in black and white, what they're teaching the kids. And it's just horrible. We need to and they work very closely with DOE. So we need to get rid of both. Now, the NEA is a little tricky because those teachers have contracts. Each state has to let those contracts expire next time. And if you don't have a curriculum or any way to create one, Hillsdale College has a wonderful curriculum from kindergarten through 12. They've got a great curriculum set up, ready to go. If you're in a state that doesn't know how to set that up. One of the first people I met when I got here was the guy running for Secretary of Education. Anyway.
What state again? News for Friends. What state are you in now?
I'm in Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, okay.
And it's a whole different world from California. And I didn't know anyone. I came here by myself because of my age. California was trying to push me to get vaccinated once I hit around 70. And I'm going to be 73 in January, and I just wasn't up for vaccination. I've been following the medical community, the pharma. I knew they were trying to kill us when they came out with remdesivir for the hospitals, because I had been following the Ebola trials in 2014 and came to the conclusion that remdesivir was unfit for human consumption. And that came to that conclusion in 2014 during those Ebola trials. And so when Fauci came out and that was the mandatory treatment and the only one, it was like a lightning bolt went through my system. I suddenly realized they're trying to kill us all. Anyway.
News for Friends. I have a question because my daughter goes to OU. Can you tell me why Texas doesn't float out into the Gulf?
Why they don't what?
Why the state of Texas doesn't float out into the Gulf?
I don't understand that question.
It's because
say, oh, you fight